Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Live. We have a great episode for you today. We have Chris Chesley from VKernel with us today, and I'm really excited to bring Chris back on the show because I can see the numbers on the screen. You guys are hearing us chat previously, but the people listen to this as recorded. This is one of my favorite people to have on the podcast or on the podcast show or on videos or definitely on the live webinar because Chris always comes with something really great and something that you guys are going to be able to learn something from, and then immediately when we're all said and done with this, take away. Go ahead and download their free solution and start seeing and looking into what Chris is going to teach you. So it's a little bit of education, and at the same time, they're going to show you their free solutions and then their solutions that for a few dimes. So on that note, let me go ahead and introduce my guest for today. Oh, well, before I do that, I just want to sort of throw it out there. Can everybody hear me okay? And you don't have to say if you can or if you can, but if you cannot. And also, as always with my DABCC Live webinars, we really want to turn these things into an audience participation project. I love that phrase, audience participation projects. It's all fun and fine and dandy for Chris and I to sit here and chat. But we really, really want you guys to chat with us. So within GoToWebinar, there is a fancy little questions piece there. So please, as we go through and as Chris is showing this stuff off, as Chris is, saying, hey, you can do this and this is how you overcome that, ask questions and use that little questions piece. And what my job today is to eventually shut up and just monitor those questions and feed those back over to Chris while it's relevant. We're not going to wait until the end of the webinar. We're going to do it right away. So please feel free to ask those questions. So on that note, again, if there's anyone that has any trouble hearing me or hearing Chris when Chris starts chatting, if I ever shut up, then please let me know within the questions and I'll adjust the audio there. So on that note, let me go ahead and introduce my favorite of all time guests on DABCC Live, Chris. So Chris, real quick, can you tell me who you are and what do you do over at VKernel?
Chesley. I am one of the senior systems engineers here at VKernel. I've been around since almost the beginning, helping us design, implement, talk to customers. That's my job.
Well, very cool. So real quick, tell us about VKernel.
VKernel, we're a very small software company based out of Andover, Massachusetts. We specialize in making virtual appliances that help our customers manage their virtual environment. So if you have problems with performance, like what we're talking about today, optimization, do I have any VMs that are oversized? Do I have any wasted storage? That's what we specialize in, is the analytics to help our customers run their virtual environments better.
Well, perfect. Okay. With no further ado, let's just dive into this. But again, guys, as we go through this, please ask questions because that's really what makes these webinars better. Someone once came to me and said, hey, Doug, why don't you do webinars? And I said, well, we do podcasts. We do videos. What's the difference? And they said, because you can ask for feedback. You can get people to ask questions. So please ask questions and we'll make this webinar a better experience for you and for the other people watching and listening. So, Chris, take it away. What are you going to show us today?
All right, so I'm going to show two different things today. The topic of the day is disk I/O, storage I/O, whatever you want to call it. I was talking to Doug before the call, and a lot of the people that I talk to every day are having a very difficult time identifying and resolving disk I/O latency issues in their virtual environment. Virtual Center doesn't quite give you all the information you need. You can go to the array, but that's not the right information. So we make a couple of really cool tools and solutions that will help you identify where the problems are and give you the information you need to fix those disk I/O issues across fiber, iSCSI, and NFS storage. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So I have a very, very short slide deck just to kind of go over some of the topics. And then we'll go ahead and get into, we have a free product called Storage View that we'll show you on how you can use that to troubleshoot your problems. And then go into our more detailed analytics and the capacity analyzer for disk I/O. And as Doug mentioned, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions as we go along. All right, so let's go ahead and get going here.
Perfect. I'm excited to see this. I've been playing with the product for a while, but I think you guys gave me a demo or an overview when you first came out with it, but it's been a little bit, so I'm really excited. And you didn't go into, hitting the microphone there. You didn't go into all this stuff, so I'm excited myself to learn this.
All right, so just a real level set here first. So there are three main types of storage, and I know everybody knows that. I think it's important to set the basics here. So the fiber storage, fiber attached storage, and iSCSI storage. It's easier to get information on latency, queue latency, all of that. VMware and all the other virtualization providers, Hyper-Vs and all the rest of those, have pretty good statistics on how much traffic is going from each host to each individual data store. Latency, which is what we're talking about today, which is how long a read-write command takes to be executed. So whenever a VM needs to read or write something, it's how long it takes that command to leave the host, get to the data store, and back. That's the latency. I can't sit here and tell you what a good latency number is, simply because there's tons of different types of storage, whether using Symmetrics, Clarion, Datacore, NetApp, Left Hand. There's a bunch of different vendors with a bunch of different speeds. It can be on different parts of your network. It depends on what kind of connection you have, whether it's 10 gig, 1 gig, all of that. So there's no one number for latency that's right. So that's part of the problem. The other part is if you're using NFS storage, it uses the network stack to communicate, not the storage stack. So VMware and a lot of the other vendors are totally blind to any NFS traffic, bottlenecks, all of that. They just don't have the data for that. So our company has spent a lot of time and a lot of effort drilling down into that problem. We've actually found ways of calculating and getting accurate information for NFS latency and all of that. And that's part of what we put here in the storage view. So first of all, storage view is a free application. It is not a virtual appliance. It's a very small, less than 5 meg download you can get off of my website, www.vkernel.com. It runs on any current Windows server or desktop, so it just runs, makes a connection up to Virtual Center or an individual ESX host. From there, it collects all the latency that it needs and stores it, and then reports on the top 5 host data store links with the highest latency. So in case anybody is fairly new to virtualization, there are multiple data stores that are assigned to multiple hosts. So a host can have 10, 20, 30 different data stores presented to it. But the way you measure it is each host to each data store. So a host may have a 2 millisecond latency to one data store and a 5 millisecond to the other. It depends on the path, the storage, how much traffic, all the rest of that. So we'll show the 5 highest values there. Anything you want to add to that, Doug? Anybody have any questions yet?
No questions yet, and it all seems good to me. But guys, again, definitely ask your questions. Use the little questions piece of it's found on your right section of, or wherever you put it, usually on the top right of your screen, the little go to webinar piece.
So the other part of the storage view is it's not just the latency, it's which VMs are on that particular data store. So we show you that as well, and I'll show you the tool here in a minute. And that really will help you identify if there's a problem and some of the information you need to solve that. So I've had a lot of customers who use our regular product, install this and go, I don't have any disk I/O problems. Oh my gosh, what's this really 55 second or millisecond latency on this particular link? So really, free tool will highlight any issues you have, just let you know what's going on. So the price is right and the information is really good here. We'd like to spend just a second on point 6 there, disk latency for NFS. Up to this point, vKernel is the only vendor other than the individual NetApp or other storage vendors that can get disk throughput for NFS. We've taken that information and now can give you accurate disk latency for NFS. So there's really no other way I know of other than setting up monitoring on a volume to get disk latency for NFS. So this is the first place where we have this particular functionality. We're going to be rolling it into our other products here very, very soon. And again, we'll be showing you storage view here in a few minutes.
Very cool.
Unless there's any questions, Doug, we'll go on to the other product here.
Please continue. Still no questions. Come on, guys. Well, it's very simple. I mean, you haven't, Keep going, and we'll get some questions once we get into the meat of it.
I'm sure we will. So the one limitation with Storage View is it gives you just part of the picture. In order to get deeper analysis, you need a lot more metrics, a lot more collections, and a lot of historical data. So we make an excellent solution called Capacity Analyzer. It is a virtual appliance that you access via a web browser. It's agent-free, same as our other piece there. We're very big on not putting anything on Virtual Center, an agent out there. You already have enough stuff running. So as a virtual appliance, it gives us some huge advantages. The first is very easy to install and load. It takes 15 minutes from the time you start to download it until the time you start getting data in most situations. Unless you've got, 1,800 VMs, that kind of thing, it takes a little bit longer. But everything's all built in. You don't need to go find a database. You don't need to configure Apache or the patches or find server anything. You drop the virtual machine in, tell us where Virtual Center is, we're good to go. The other part there is the deeper analytics. This particular virtual appliance has a lot more detailed items that it can look at. So it looks at queue latency, which is how long a disk command waits to be run. We also get throughput, disk bus resets, disk commands aborted, which are more hardware errors. So if you have a HBA or a disk bus that has an error or it gets overloaded, it will have to call it quits, reset, and go on, and that's obviously a very big stoppage or slowdown there. So we have a lot more stuff that we can analyze. And then looking at the historical data, I can determine what a good latency number is for my environment for each individual link in the data store host chain. So having access to that historical information will tell me when things are out of whack. If I've been running 4 millisecond latency consistently for the last month, and now up to 8, something's obviously changed there. Probably added a VM to start drilling down into that. That's the additional capability that the Capacity Analyzer gives. Okay. The Capacity Analyzer currently only shows throughput for NFS. Again, I mentioned the latency computations for disk latency for NFS are only in Storage View. They will be added here. We're working on a new release now, and that should be available very quickly. And the other thing is, again, the historical data, we keep it for 2 years, so you can go back and look at very historical information to see what's going on, what did it look like back then. And the other part of Capacity Analyzer is also shows available capacity. How many VMs can I add based on CPU, memory, storage, disk I/O, all the rest of that. That's really what the Capacity Analyzer does. And I think you and I have talked about that in the past, haven't we, Doug?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I do have a question from the audience here, and that is from actually an old friend of mine. Hello. So it says you stated you get data on NFS, iSCSI, and Fiber Channel, but what about direct attached storage on ESX servers?
Direct attached is treated as iSCSI or SCSI, so we get information on local direct attached as well. The one caveat to that is RDM, raw disk mapping. VMware doesn't do a good job with latency throughput for that, so we're working on getting those computations as well.
Cool. Sounds
good question.
That is a good question.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, let's go ahead and get into what everybody really came for, what I came to show, which is the software here.
Cool. I do have a quick question before we get into the software, and I don't know if you're going to get into this yourselves, but I'll go ahead and ask it before. And that is, whenever someone comes on, shows me a demo, I always say, okay, this looks all fine and dandy, but what did it take to get to this point? What did you have to install? Is there a back-end services? You know what I mean? What did it take to get to the point where you're to the point where you're demoing now?
So what you're looking at now is Storage View. This is a desktop application. It can run on the server as well. It's a 5 meg download, and that's really pretty much all you need. It uses built-in technology to go in and grab the data agentlessly from Virtual Center or the host. So really, download the MSI, install it. You need Java 1.6 or above, and you're good to go.
Sounds good.
So the time to value on this is very short, shall we say. So it's a very nice little tool. So what you're looking at here is the interface. We're looking at across here. These are the top 5 connections or links in my environment that have a problem. I've got a 9 millisecond latency in between my 16.25 host and my Infra 2 data store. And then the details down here are looking at which VMs are attached there. So I've only got one VM on there, and so I know exactly who's generating that traffic. Where I go to some of these other links, this one here specifically, I have a number of VMs right there. So it lets me know what latency values I have and what VMs are generating that particular traffic, or may in fact be causing the problem. Then all other hosts over here. So I have 0 other performance problems with links. So everything else in my environment looks pretty good. Everything is green in here. And really quickly, let me just show you how you configure it. So if you go down to the storage view icon and hit configure, this is all you really need to do. The top portion there that's highlighted is either my virtual center, like it is in this case, or an individual ESX host. We need the credentials to get in. That's the username and password portion. And then in here, you set what's good or bad. So in this case, 15 milliseconds or under, 15 milliseconds and over is a warning. Anything above 25 milliseconds is an alarm. And then this last field down here is how often it's going to collect new data and update it. So this is pretty much a real-time tool looking at over the last 10 minutes, half an hour, what are the latencies, all the rest of that. Okay.
Sounds good.
So this is the storage view. Again, very helpful for a lot of our customers. The Help Me Analyze button down here is that deeper level of analysis. That will actually take you to a download page for our Capacity Analyzer, where you can then start looking at, okay, what are the other related metrics? Where is this machine having problems? Is the problem at the data store level, host level, VM level? Where is it exactly?
Very cool.
Anybody have any questions about that, Doug?
Not yet. It's, this stuff, that's what I, again, love about you guys. It's just so darn simple, it's just boom. I mean, I really don't even have any questions. It just makes sense.
Yeah, this is and that's part of what our software does, is it takes a lot of complex data and analyzes it for you, and boom, here's your answer. That makes it simple. Stuff you don't have time to look at or compute yourself, that's what we have time for. That's what we do for a living. We're experts at this.
That's very cool.
All right, what you're looking at here is my Internet Explorer open to my Capacity Analyzer. This, again, is a virtual appliance running in the background collecting data. The data we collect is for every level of my environment at every resource. So we're tracking CPU, CPU ready, memory, ballooning, swapping, storage, and disk I/O. So if you have bottlenecks in any of those or performance issues, we can highlight those. Disk I/O is what we're here to talk about today. So within here, this is every link that we were talking about. So my 16.25 host writing to this data store. We have a latency here. This is a 24-hour average that's computed there. The arrows show whether they're trending up, down, or staying steady. The latency peak is how high it got. What is my highest value that I got during the last 24 hours? So 15 milliseconds here. And then again, the Q latency is how long a command takes to run. And then we also get a lot more detailed metrics. And this is more at the host, cluster, and VM level here. So this VM right here is generating 72 kilobits a second in traffic. So it's read and writes. That's the highest throughput. How much it was swapping. The highest value that swapped. And then again, any of those hardware errors that were shown in there. So this is the kind of detailed information you can use to understand where your problems are and who's generating the problems there. And if I wanted to look to solve any of these, one of the best ways of doing it is getting a bigger picture. So I'm essentially looking at one link right here. But if I need a bigger picture, I can go here, for example, to my iSCSI prod data store. If I double-click on that, it will show me that particular data store and all the metrics for it. So the summary up here is what it's doing. On the right-hand side, I get the overall throughput peaks, all of that. Then down underneath, I show every host that's reading and writing to that data store and every VM with all of the metrics. So this is a view you can use to understand what's happening, where is it happening, all the rest of that. And then the last piece I would use if this was a problem and I wanted to fix it would start looking at some of the historical. So not just what is the average, what is the peak, but when is that particular system busy. So I can go back to the other view, right-click on any data store host combination, go down to disk. We'll just look at latency. This then starts telling me when the system is busy. If I have any data that is, hold on. Always during a demo we get that. Always during a demo. All right. Well, normally we have data here. I must have somebody updating something here. But anyway, normally what we get is, let me show you a memory graph here, but we have some of that.
And while you're doing that, I'll just real quick, guys, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the questions box. And Chris is he's a real good expert. So if you have any questions, think about, gee, how I can use this in my environment. And, if there's a question about that, ask while you have Chris on the line, because he's not just somebody, here to demo the product. This guy's very knowledgeable. So it's a good use of, it's like 20 questions with Chris.
Usually is. So this is the kind of chart you can get for all of our metrics, including the disk I/O. So it shows when a particular VM was busy for all the resources, so you can start tracking, were there two different workloads that coincided, all of that kind of stuff. That's really what we're after in here, is getting the detailed information you need to understand where the problem is and who's causing that particular problem.
Very good, very good. Boy, Capacity Analyzer sure has come a long ways over the years. I remember when you guys first released it, and it's so verbose now. Like I've said, your products are so simple. And this product was so simple. Now it's still simple, but there's tons of data in it that you can dive deeper into. It's quite amazing. So I have another question.
We've been adding a lot. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
We've been adding a lot to the disk I/O. When we first released this, as Doug mentioned, we didn't have any disk I/O metrics at all, and that was the number one thing that people asked us for. And now we're starting to get into, latency for NFS, graphical mapping, so I can give you a graphical representation of where your problems are, down to the spindles, all that. So we're going to be expanding what we do here, even beyond what you see right now. So we're not done building this yet. We're every time we have new information we need to add, the compressed memory in the 4.1, we're going to be adding that here very soon as well. So.
Oh, very cool, very cool. Well, here's a good question. I like this one. It says, what are the most common causes for high disk latency?
The most common causes are overloaded LUNs. So if this is let's pretend this was a data store that was having a problem. If I had something that was generating a ton of traffic, let's say a SQL server or something like that, an Oracle server, those tend to really hog the bandwidth. So you've got to think of disk I/O as a pipe. And the problem with measuring this is it's not always clear how big that pipe is. So if I have a SQL server that's taking up a significant portion of that, it squeezes out how much I/O is available for all the other VMs on that particular link. So usually it's something very big, very heavy running that will cause that. I see a lot of sporadic disk I/O. So, for example, whenever I'm doing a lot of backup or site-to-site replication, it can take up a lot of these channels, and then all the other VMs who are trying to do other things during that period get choked out. So it's usually something along those lines. The other thing I have seen is if you have paths that go bad or don't get added correctly, it can take more hops. Not the optimum path to get there, and that can really increase the latency as well.
You bet, you bet. Here's another question. Have you seen disk alignment issues cause issues with I/O or latency or bottlenecks on the SAN?
The short answer to that is absolutely. For those of you that are not clear, there is a 64 kbit alignment. The SAN gets and retrieves blocks of information in blocks. So I get a 1 meg, 2 meg, 8 meg, whatever it is, block. If I don't align up the operating system with those blocks, whenever I need a little bit of information, instead of getting and requesting one block, I have to request 2 blocks because the information I need spans both of those blocks. So it, in essence, can occasionally double the disk I/O. So if you don't align your disk correctly, it can cause a lot more I/O than is really needed. So the less blocks you have to push over the network, the more I/O is available for everybody else. So the 64 KB alignment is something you definitely need to take a look at. Usually it's more of a one-time thing. When you first make the VM, make sure it's aligned. You don't normally have to touch it much after that.
Cool. If somebody wants to learn more about that, what do they need to? Is there? I mean, is there a tool or something like that they could use to help them align the disk?
There are some NetApp tools out there that work specifically with their gear that do a very good job of doing that. I wish I had it up in a moment. There is a very, very detailed blog on how to go out and align your disk correctly. So you got to go out and determine, where your block size is and what it starts. So I will see if I can find that, Doug, and send that over to you. Maybe we'll either add it to the podcast or comments or post it on your website. But it's an excellent blog that goes through detail how to do that.
Perfect. And probably just Google, alignment. So that works. Hopefully, not just alignment.
That can certainly work too.
Yeah, but not just alignment. You'll end up with how to align your tires on your car. So a little bit different.
Which is useful, but not useful in this particular sense of the word.
You are correct. So that being said, anything else? Did I lose you?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. From the audience out there, any other questions? Chris, is there anything else you'd like to show us? I mean, this is what I love about you guys. It's really just short and sweet. This doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to go on for hours.
That's exactly right, and that's part of what we do. So let me just show you this here real quick. Go to our website, VKernel.com. The storage view is going to be right here, the free assessment tool. We do have some other tools as well, so if I go on downloads, storage view is the piece we looked at today. There's another piece called app view, which looks at individual applications and how they're performing, an application being a VM in this case. And capacity view shows you performance bottlenecks, that kind of stuff. And then we have some other free tools as well, much of which I think we've done WebExes or webinars with you, Doug.
Yeah, absolutely.
The capacity analyzer is right here. This is free for 30 days. So if you have questions about, disk I/O, you can load storage view if that doesn't give you the information or answers you need. You can download our capacity analyzer and try that for 30 days and give us a call. We'll be happy to look at your environment with our analytics and help you figure out what's going on.
Very cool. I do have another question from the audience. Is there a way to see more than just the top 5 problem hosts? You indicate that you collect the data, but you only display the top 5. So can we dive deeper and see the 6th, 7th, 10th, 20th?
The answer is no. Essentially, This is a free tool, so we limited that to the top 5. But as your latencies change, the top 5 will change. So right now, it is hard-coded to just the top 5.
What about as a capacity analyzer or something like that? Can you get that information out of there?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Capacity Analyzer gets you all of your disk I/O for every system in your environment. So if we go here and then down to disk I/O, this is actually a sorted list. So the highest latency will show up at the top, and they go down, and you can get all your different latencies in here.
Cool. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? And anything else? At the same time, anything else you'd like to show us, Chris? And you stole my thunder. I was going to ask you at the very end, what do I need to do to learn more? But you beat me to the punch.
Yeah. Again, download the appliances, download the little Java app. It's a great way of looking at your environment. Help you solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely. And yep, we have someone that says thanks for the overview, and we thank you guys for listening. And like I said, this is a pretty simple webinar. Hopefully you guys learned a bit. Definitely head over to VKernel.com and go ahead and download the storage view. And also there are other little applications too. They have tons of them, and like Chris showed you, and they're neat things. So what do I say? I hope you guys enjoyed it. And here's someone just said good audio quality. I appreciate that. Actually spent a lot of money on audio
I take no
quality.
credit for that.
Excuse me?
I don't take any credit for that. That's all Doug.
I thought I was going to say I spent a lot of money and pain. if people knew the pain I've gone through trying to figure out audio quality, and I'm not good at it yet, but I'm getting better. I have all these knobs, and I only know what one thing does. That's the value.
Yeah, but it's the important knob.
I hope so. Here's here's a great question here. Are you going to add Citrix Zen Server to your product?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is I don't know when. We're already supporting Hyper-V with Capacity Analyzer and our chargeback. We'll be adding optimization pack to that, and then we're going to evaluate whether we go with Zen or another hypervisor, but we're certainly looking at extending what we collect on and what we run with more, and Zen is definitely on the roadmap. I just don't have a hard date for that yet.
Sure. What other hypervisors are there? I guess there's Parallels.
Well, there's Parallels. KVM from Red Hat is making a big push. We'll see how much progress they make. There's a couple others out there as well. I think Oracle has one they're not doing much with.
Oh, yes. I forget about the Oracle stuff. I have an old Citrix friend of mine that now works at Oracle, and he's part of the Oracle VM team. And I was giving him a little bit of noise saying, oh, what do you guys do again? Databases? No, we make virtualization also. Database guys make virtualization? Excuse me?
They make database servers now, right?
That's right. And SQL, too. The MySQL, which I always find interesting. Oracle's an interesting company nowadays. They've always been, right? Let's go through the list of questions. I think we got them all answered. But I think we're just going to go ahead and call this a podcast, correct?
I think so.
Okay. So before we do that, just one last, if you guys have any questions, we have Chris here. Ask him anything. And if not, we're just going to go ahead and call this a podcast, and I'll get the recorded version up. So if you guys didn't catch it all, and or if you would like to listen to it again, and or if you'd like to share it with a colleague or someone you dislike, well, you wouldn't want to do that. So then we'll get that posted within the next couple days. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and Chris, thank you as always for taking the time to be with us. I look forward to having you on in the future, and keeping this dialogue going, because this is great stuff. So yep, and everyone hey, here's a great one. I love VKernel products, and I do too. So on that note, thank you, Chris.
As do I.
Yeah, as do we all, right? So thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Okie dokie. On that note, thank you guys again for listening to another episode of DABCC Live. For more information about previous DABCC Live episodes, head on over to www.dabcc.com, and we have a nice little on-demand webinar section where you can download the previous DABCC Live webinars, and also tons of different webinars that the different ISVs put on themselves, and we've just sort of collected for you guys to learn more information. So it's a great place to get archives and things on demand, right? And then also check out dabcc.com/live for our future schedule of